Have you ever felt trapped in something that everyone else sees as perfect? Like you should be happy, grateful even, but deep down, something feels off? That's how I felt about my relationship with Kelvin. For 3 years, Kelvin was everything I thought I wanted in a partner. He was dependable, loving, and never gave me a reason to doubt his devotion. But the very things that made him so good also made me feel like I was suffocating. Every date felt planned, every conversation predictable. He wanted a future, marriage, a house, kids, and I wasn't so sure. I know what you're thinking, Ella, why didn't you just tell him? Believe me, I asked myself the same question. But it's not that simple, is it? How do you break the heart of someone who's done nothing wrong? Things came to a head one night when Kelvin invited me to a family dinner. I wasn't excited about it, but I went because, that's what a good girlfriend does, right? That's where I met him. James. The moment I saw him, something shifted. James wasn't just Kelvin's father, he was magnetic. Charismatic in a way that drew everyone's attention without even trying. His laugh was deep and confident, and the way he carried himself, it was impossible not to notice. He wasn't like Kelvin at all. Have you ever met someone who made you question everything? That's what James did to me. At dinner, I tried not to stare, but I could feel his presence like a current in the air. When he spoke to me, it was as if we were the only 2 people in the room. He made a casual comment about my earrings, something Kelvin hadn't noticed in months, and I felt a warmth rise in my chest. Why did it matter so much? When I got home that night, I couldn't stop thinking about him. I hated myself for it. What kind of person notices someone else when they already have everything they're supposed to want? But the more I tried to push the thought away, the stronger it grew. Kelvin was asleep next to me, peaceful and unaware, and all I could do was stare at the ceiling. I asked myself, why isn't this enough? But the real question was, what was I going to do about it? Fate has a funny way of showing up when you least expect it. Or maybe it's not fate, maybe it's just temptation wearing a clever disguise. Either way, it happened one evening when I least expected it. I was at a sleek, upscale bar downtown, killing time after work while waiting for a friend who eventually cancelled. I remember glancing up from my cocktail and seeing him, James. Kelvin's father. At first, I hesitated. What were the odds we'd run into each other here? Should I say something? Pretend I didn't see him? But then he caught my eye and smiled, and before I knew it, he was walking toward me. Ella, he said, his voice smooth and warm. What a pleasant surprise. We started talking, and it was effortless. He asked about my work, my interests, my dreams, things Kelvin hadn't asked me about in ages. It felt so natural, like we weren't just 2 people who happened to know each other, but 2 people who were meant to connect. Do you know that feeling when someone looks at you, really looks at you, and you feel like the most important person in the room? That's how James made me feel. Then came the compliment that caught me off guard. You're remarkable, Ella. I don't think Kelvin realizes just how lucky he is. My heart skipped. It wasn't just the words, it was the way he said them, like he meant every syllable. 1 drink turned into 2, then 3. The bar felt smaller, quieter, as if the world outside didn't exist. And then it happened. A kiss. It was brief, electric, and completely unexpected. The moment our lips parted, guilt crashed over me like a wave. I stammered out an apology and left, barely able to breathe. All night, I wrestled with what I'd done. It was a mistake, I told myself. It'll never happen again. But here's the thing about mistakes, they have a way of pulling you back in. James texted me a few days later, something harmless about how good it was to see me. I knew I should ignore it, but I didn't. We met again. This time, it wasn't accidental. Our affair began like a spark catching fire. Stolen moments, hushed conversations, and the thrill of secrecy. With James, I felt alive in a way I hadn't in years. He saw me, desired me, made me feel wanted. The guilt was there, of course, gnawing at the edges of my mind, but I told myself it was just for now. Just a fling. Kelvin didn't suspect a thing. He trusted me completely, and I used that trust to hide my betrayal. I hated lying to him, but the truth. I was addicted to the thrill, to the way James made me feel like the center of the universe. Looking back, I asked myself, was it worth it? At the time, I didn't care about the answer. But life has a way of forcing you to confront the truth, whether you're ready for it or not. Secrets are like cracks in glass, you might not see them at first, but give them time, and they'll spread until everything shatters. My carefully constructed lie started unraveling one Sunday evening at another of Kelvin's family dinners. I sat across the table from James, forcing myself to avoid his gaze. But the tension between us was palpable. Every stolen glance, every nervous laugh, felt like a spotlight shining on my guilt. Kelvin didn't say anything, but I could feel his eyes on me, studying me, as if sensing that something was off. James, of course, was his usual self, calm and composed. He had this way of making everything seem under control, even when it wasn't. That night, when I finally managed to slip away, James caught me by the arm in the hallway. "It's fine," he whispered. "Just relax." Relax. If only it were that simple. The real disaster came days later, from a mistake so small it shouldn't have mattered. I had been at James's house, a quick, stolen moment when we thought no one would notice. In my rush to leave, I forgot my scarf on the back of his couch. You know that sinking feeling when you realize you've done something you can't undo? I felt it the moment I got home and saw the empty spot where my scarf should have been. I texted James, but it was too late. The damage was already done. Kelvin had gone to visit his father that afternoon. He walked into James's living room and saw the scarf, the one he'd bought me for Christmas last year. At first, he didn't say anything. He just stared at it, trying to make sense of why it was there. And then, slowly, the pieces fell into place. Kelvin confronted James, his voice shaking with a mixture of disbelief and anger. "Is this Ella's? What is this doing here?" James hesitated, a brief moment, but long enough to confirm Kelvin's worst fears. That night, Kelvin showed up at my apartment, his face pale and his hands trembling. He held the scarf like it was evidence in a trial. "Explain this," he said, his voice eerily calm. I tried. God, I tried. I stammered out half-truths, excuses, anything to soften the blow. But Kelvin wasn't stupid. He saw through every word. "How long?" he demanded, his voice breaking. "How long have you been lying to me?" I couldn't answer. What could I say? That I was bored? That I wanted something more? That I didn't mean for any of this to happen? His devastation turned to fury. "You didn't just betray me," he said, his voice cold and sharp. "You did this with him. My father. Do you even realize what you've done?" The fallout was swift and brutal. Kelvin left that night and never looked back. He moved out of our apartment, cut ties with me, and refused to speak to James. The betrayal was too deep, too personal, for any kind of reconciliation. James's wife found out soon after. She didn't scream or cry, she just packed her bags and left, taking years of their marriage with her. As for me, I was left with the wreckage. The life I had so carefully balanced was in pieces, and I had no one to blame but myself. Do you know what it's like to lose everything because of one choice? To stand in the ruins of your own making and wonder how you could have been so blind. That was my reality. And yet, I still had one question gnawing at the edges of my mind: was it worth it? Regret has a way of sneaking up on you, doesn't it? It doesn't come all at once, like a storm. It creeps in quietly, settling into the cracks of your life until it's the only thing you feel. Kelvin left the apartment the morning after our confrontation. I didn't try to stop him. What could I say that he hadn't already heard? I watched him pack his things with a cold precision that cut deeper than any yelling or accusations could. When the door closed behind him, the silence in our apartment was deafening. Every corner of that space seemed to echo with memories, his laughter, his kindness, the life we'd built together. And now, all of it was gone. I tried reaching out to him. Texts, calls, even emails, each one a desperate attempt to apologize, to explain, to ask for a second chance. But Kelvin didn't respond. He was done with me, and I couldn't blame him. I heard through mutual friends that he was focusing on rebuilding his life, throwing himself into work and moving to a new city to escape the reminders of what we'd had. He cut ties with his father completely, refusing to attend family events or answer his calls. James, the man who once seemed so unshakable, was falling apart too. His wife demanded a separation, and I can still picture the look on his face the last time we spoke, hollow, defeated. The confident, charming man I had been so drawn to was gone, replaced by someone I hardly recognized. As for me, I was left to confront the mess I'd made. Friends distanced themselves, their disappointment in me clear. My family's disapproval was palpable, even when they tried to hide it behind awkward silences and forced smiles. I'd lost more than just Kelvin, I'd lost my sense of who I was. I spent countless nights replaying everything in my mind. How had I let it go this far? Was it really worth it? The thrill, the excitement, the passion, it had all faded, leaving nothing but emptiness. Do you know what haunts me the most? It's not the loss of Kelvin, or even James. It's the realization that I traded stability and love for something so fleeting, so meaningless. I wish I could tell you there's a silver lining here, that I found a way to make amends or rebuild my life. But some mistakes leave scars that never fully heal. Now, I stand alone, in the quiet of my life, reflecting on the choices that led me here. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that loyalty isn't just about the promises you make to others, it's about the promises you keep to yourself. And me? I broke every single one. Life doesn't always give us the happy endings we hope for. Sometimes, it gives us lessons instead, harsh, painful truths that force us to face who we really are. My story doesn't end with redemption or a neat resolution. It ends here, with me, picking up the pieces of a life I shattered. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. I hope my story made you think, feel, or maybe even question the choices we sometimes take for granted. What would you have done if you were in my shoes? Could you have resisted the pull of temptation, or would you have made the same mistakes I did? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please comment below and tell me what you think about my journey. Did you sympathize with me, or did you feel Kelvin deserved better? Let's talk about it. I'm ready to face the hard truths. Before you go, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Your support helps us create more stories like this, ones that challenge, intrigue, and inspire conversations. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. Thank you for being part of this journey, and I'll see you in the next story. Until then, take care and cherish the ones who love you.